In Smash Ultimate, we have the largest roster in the series' history, letting us choose from a plethora of playable characters, several of them even from games outside of the Fire Emblem series. This franchise has always been an important part of my sad little life. I can still remember the thrill of waking up in anticipation at 3 a.m. back in 2007, running to the family computer to check out the Smash Bros Dojo, and just praying for some exciting new roster announcement. But there's a problem. 2 years ago, I became a practicing vegan, and since then I've become increasingly concerned with the decisions I make in video games. Because as we all know, anything you do in a video game is a 100% accurate reflection of how you live your daily life and the sort of person that you truly are. What does my character choice when playing Smash say about me? How can I call myself a true vegan if my opponent can call into question whether or not I am one? Well, today I put those fears to rest. We're going to go one by one through every character and set up a power ranking of which ones can be considered ethically vegan and which should be avoided at all cost. But first, 4 ground rules. Number 1, we're defining veganism as abstaining from the use of not only animal products, but the direct products of sentient creatures of all varieties. Reason being, the universes that some of these characters come from are a bit different than our own, so some creatures may not technically be considered animals. Number 2, we're only judging a character on their current actions and equipment. We'll assume that from the point we pick up the controller to play them, they're trying to be vegan, so no tossing them aside based entirely on past actions. Number 3, we're working under the assumption here that you have items turned off and you're playing without the Smash meter because, you're not a filthy casual. And lastly, number 4, while pitched combat to the death isn't exactly a vegan concept, we'll just pretend that these fights they're partaking in aren't voluntary. It's all in self-defense. Otherwise, I don't really know how to find a vegan justification for curb-stomping Pichu. Anyway, with all of this cleared up, let's begin. Mario unfortunately wears a pair of leather shoes. Technically, this could be faux leather, we don't really know for certain when it comes to the Mario universe, but it's better to be safe than sorry, so he clocks in at our questionable tier. Or that's what I would be saying if I were just giving each character a passing glance, but no, I've done my research here. For Mario's side special, he swings a cape at his opponent, a reference to the Cape Mario power-up most prominently featured in Super Mario World, a power-up that's obtained by picking up the cape feather. Feathers come from birds. That is definitely non-vegan, which instead throws Mario into the definitely non-vegan tier. Now, arguably, one could play as Mario and just never use his side special. This sort of scenario can apply to a lot of characters here, so to cover my bases, we're going to have 2 tandem tier trackers. Wow, I actually got that alliteration first try. One tier list for the characters, just assuming you play them normally, and another tier list for the characters when played with a set of self-imposed limitations, like Mario, but never using his side special. Oh, by the way, if you do choose to risk it and play like this, you probably shouldn't use his down special, the Flood, either, because it comes with its own set of leather straps. Now, you may be saying, wait, what about his alternate outfits? While Builder Mario really just seems to add more leather, Wedding Mario may or may not remove those aforementioned leather shoes in favor of some sort of very shiny shoes. Could be really polished leather, but I honestly can't tell. That would be a workaround if there weren't a new issue. In place of his old hat, he now dons a top hat. Traditionally, top hats, according to Google, are made from silk, a quite expensive and non-vegan material, seeing as silk comes from silkworms. Certainly a top hat befit for a royal wedding is going to be made of an expensive material like silk. Now, just like with the leather, we don't know how silk is sourced in the Mario universe, but this means that even changing up outfits doesn't put Mario fully in the clear. With all that said, I'm locking in Mario as definitely non-vegan if you play him normally, due to the cape, and questionable if you play with the limitation of not using the cape. Donkey Kong might just be one of the most vegan characters in the series. Scrubbing through his whole move list, victory screens, and even taunts, it's pretty much just him. It's just Donkey Kong. No animal products to be seen. The worst you could possibly say is that his tie may be derived from some sort of animal product, but you know what, right now let's append my ground rules. Rule 5, I'm giving out a blanket pass for all clothing so long as I don't have a strong reasonable doubt to question it. Like the top hat or something obviously being made from leather. If I didn't do this, we'd need to pretty much just dismiss all non-nude characters from viability. Anyway, my conclusion here is that our boy DK sits firmly in the totally vegan tier. Let's see. Leather boots, 1, 2, 3 leather belts, leather bracer on his default outfit and their alternate colorations, leather strap on the back of the shield, feathered arrows, what appears to be a hide-strung bow. Considering the universe that these iterations of Link come from, I'm drawn to the conclusion that nothing he's wearing here is synthetic. As a result, I unfortunately have to place him in the definitely non-vegan tier.
Samus.
A bit of an oddity. Samus doesn't have anything blatantly non-vegan on her person from a cursory glance, but upon diving deeper into her lore, here on the Wikitroid, you'll find that the power armor she dons is biological in nature, and we have no definitive answer where the organic material in its creation is sourced from. Her power suit was created by the ancient mysterious Chozo people, a race that, according to the Wikitroid, was peaceful for the most part and had the utmost respect for the natural flora and fauna found on every planet. But, you know, we can't know if the Chozo were respectful of native wildlife but still felt it was totally cool to kill and harvest Zoomers for their biological material. Unfortunately, that power suit of hers exists in a realm of science fiction which we just can't have fully explained to us. Only because of this level of reasonable doubt, I feel more comfortable putting Samus in the questionable tier, but verging really close to the totally vegan tier.
Dark Samus.
So bear with me on this one. From what I can gather, Dark Samus is like the DNA love child of Samus, the Phazon suit, and Metroid Prime. Functionally, every aspect of its being, all of its attacks, its missiles, its bombs, are not an upgrade or piece of equipment that it dons like Samus, but rather a component of itself. In the context of whether or not it's vegan, Dark Samus is not responsible for what it was created from. While I do hold Samus's power suit potentially being non-vegan against her in this tiering, that same power suit being a component of Dark Samus can't be held against it, because it is fundamental to its very existence. Dark Samus can't choose to remove the power suit because it is the power suit. Because of this, Dark Samus is somehow landing in the totally vegan tier, placing them above Samus.
Yoshi.
So, I bet you're thinking that Yoshi, of all characters, is gonna get points deducted for doing stuff like eating people and throwing eggs around. I'd propose a contrarian counterpoint. When Yoshi eats enemies, he's not actually eating them. In Yoshi's Island, the game from which this move is derived, when he does this, he converts enemies permanently into eggs. Within that context, yeah, that's eating them. And I'd say no, that's not vegan. But Yoshi in Smash Bros, well, I'd say it's more of a very disturbing defense mechanism. He's more or less just passing an enemy through his gastrointestinal tract and encasing them in a temporary shell. Nightmare fuel? Yes. Someone's fetish? Oh, absolutely. But not non-vegan. As to his throwing eggs, Yoshi created these eggs himself. Throwing them at his enemies is no more non-vegan than throwing any other bodily concoction. Spitting, farting, pissing. The only potential issue I see with Yoshi are his boots. Zooming in extremely close, at first I thought they may be leather, but when comparing the texture to other leather boots in the game, they don't really appear to match up. As a result of this and the overwhelming ambiguity of the universe that Yoshi's from, we can't really be sure what the hell they're supposed to be. Based on my own rules established earlier with Donkey Kong regarding clothing, Yoshi secures himself a slot in the totally vegan tier. Kirby is, deceptively, for the most part, entirely vegan. His tilts, aerials, sword, hammer, and even each form of his down special, all apparently vegan after some examination. Where things get tricky is the move most commonly associated with him, his neutral special, and one's own individual interpretation of how exactly it functions within the context of this game. In regular Kirby games, he just straight up eats enemies that he swallows. They're gone. Not vegan. But in Smash Bros, it doesn't quite work the same way. My natural inclination is to extend to him the same leniency that I just did to Yoshi, arguing that his temporary swallowing of opponents is merely a natural defense mechanism that just happens to use his mouth, not actually eating. Where the arguments in favor of his supposed veganism hit a roadblock, though, is the copy function. Going off the definition we're using for veganism, as much as I'd like to give Kirby a pass, I feel like damaging another creature to gain a resource from them, even if it is in self-defense, is inherently non-vegan if you have other means of defending yourself. The ambiguity of this aside, however, you can also just use Kirby's neutral special to literally eat animal products, recovering HP in the process. As a result, I'm putting Kirby into the definitely non-vegan tier of the main list, but he's also getting a spot on the exact opposite end at the totally vegan tier in the other list, provided that you don't use the copy function or swallow any non-vegan products.
Fox.
We've got a leather belt and a leather strap below that to secure his holster. Zooming in on his gloves, those appear to be leather as well, and potentially leather on his jacket, can't tell for sure. In the Star Fox universe, we have anthropomorphized animals having space dogfights in a futuristic sci-fi setting. I would initially believe that, with a civilization this advanced, any leather we see would probably be synthetic, but we also know, thanks to Star Fox Adventures, that Fox won't shy away from eating eggs or using beetles as a currency, so I don't necessarily feel like he would have an issue wearing real leather. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong. As a result of this ambiguity though, I'm putting Fox into the questionable tier.
Pikachu.
Nothing that Pikachu does is inherently non-vegan. He's totally innocent. Hell, in his default outfit, he's completely unclothed, which even beats out Donkey Kong. So let's just go ahead and tuck him in here at the totally vegan tier, and then no. Pikachu appears on screen at the start of a match by emerging from a Pokeball. Pikachu is a captured wild Pokemon. At its basic premise, capturing Pokemon and pitting them in battle against one another is not vegan. It's not the fact that Pikachu is a more animalistic fighter in this game that makes playing him non-vegan. It's the underlying implication of specifically the Pokeball, meaning that he's a captive creature doing battle. Wild Pokemon attempt to evade capture, which shows that at some level you're stripping them of their own agency and using them as a tool. Jokes aside, this video is obviously an elaborate shitpost that's only inspired by my real ideas. I'm a huge fan of the Pokemon games. I played Gen 1 through 3 so much as a kid that now, as a party trick, I can reliably name pretty much any Pokemon you throw at me based entirely on their cry. It's kind of sad. But I feel I can say without issue, if you want to play as a vegan character in Smash Ultimate, you should not play as a captive Pokemon. Pikachu belongs in the definitely non-vegan tier.
Luigi.
Luigi, much like his brother Mario, lands in the questionable tier due to his most likely leather shoes. But just like his brother, that's only if you're limiting yourself. In reality, Luigi also lands in the definitely non-vegan tier due to his tether grab, which utilizes the Poltergust G-00 vacuum. If you take a closer look at said vacuum, not only does it have leather straps, which, whatever, we'll just give those the same pass as the shoes, it's also filled to the brim with a green goo. Players of Luigi's Mansion 3 will recognize this green goo as Gooigi. Gooigi, according to information provided within the games he appears, is the result of experiments done on a strange blue liquid gathered from ghosts. Ghosts, while generally antagonists in the Luigi's Mansion series, are being utilized for a resource in this scenario. While a ghost isn't necessarily an animal, they are sentient creatures within the Mario universe, which lines up with Rule 1, and therefore, in my mind, using resources derived from them can't be considered vegan. If we played as Gooigi in Smash, much like Dark Samus, I wouldn't consider him to be a non-vegan character choice, as he has no control over what he was created from. But in this situation, he's not the playable character. If anything, Gooigi is just something Luigi happens to be wearing when using his tether grab. As a result, Luigi ends up in the definitely non-vegan tier for normal play, and the questionable tier if you choose to never use his grab. Leather straps on his backpack. Considering the universe that Ness comes from, it's sort of a toss-up whether or not this is real leather or synthetic. As a result, I'm putting him in the questionable tier.
Captain Falcon.
Leather belt, possibly 2, as well as what looks like a leather holster and some leather straps on his shoes. Because the F-Zero universe is pretty high-tech, we're going to give him the same benefit of doubt as other characters and say it could be synthetic leather. And so Captain Falcon goes into the questionable tier.
Jigglypuff.
In the very same vein as Pikachu, Jigglypuff emerges from a Pokeball, thereby falling into the definitely non-vegan tier. So that's the entire Smash 64 roster, plus Dark Samus. And with that, we've only hit page 4 out of the currently 17 pages of script that I have prepared. I'm sure there may be a handful of contentious takes that I made here, and if you disagree with any of them, let me know. I'm gonna read every comment, and if I agree with your reasoning, I'll very likely make an addendum to a character's tiering in subsequent videos. I've enjoyed working on this, but it's been a fuck ton of work. Easily over 100 plus hours between research, recording, writing, editing, and taking brief breaks to make unrelated low-effort shitposts. This is where I'm gonna leave it for now, though. If you're interested in seeing me continue through the rest of the roster, please do all that YouTube engagement bullshit. Like, comment, subscribe, share it to your Discord buddies so they can harass me on Twitter. All that fun stuff. This has been Poor Dunce, reminding you that not all vegans are jerks, but all of us are batshit insane.